Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have once again demonstrated what intentional modern philanthropy actually looks like. And as usual, the nuance of their work is being missed by critics who either refuse or fail to understand how sustainable impact is built. Quietly, thoughtfully and without spectacle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have transferred their Parents Network initiative to ParentsTogether, a respected non-profit organisation with years of experience supporting families affected by online harm. This was not a retreat, not a failure, and certainly not abandonment. It was a strategic evolution that reflects maturity, responsibility, and long-term thinking. The Parents Network was launched through the Archewell Foundation in the summer of 2024, during a time when conversations about online safety were finally beginning to reach a broader public. Harry and Meghan did not create the initiative for headlines or applause. They created it because parents were drowning in fear, confusion and grief, often without resources or guidance. Families were losing children to online harms, algorithm-driven radicalization, cyberbullying and digital exploitation, and very few public figures were willing to speak plainly about it. From the very beginning, the Parents Network was designed as a bridge, a place for parents to connect, to learn, to share warning signs, and to advocate for change. It was never meant to be a permanent vanity project attached to celebrity names. It was meant to grow, stabilize, and ultimately live within a community that could sustain it beyond any single foundation. That is exactly what has happened. ParentsTogether has now received the complete operational infrastructure of the Parents Network. That includes systems, processes, creative materials, and brand assets. This was not a symbolic handoff. It was a full transfer of tools, knowledge, and capacity. Archewell did not simply wish them well and walk away. They ensured continuity. Even more importantly, Archewell provided a cash grant covering the first full year of running costs for the network. Donations previously made by Archewell supporters were also passed directly to ParentsTogether, with those funds specifically earmarked for Parents Network activities. That matters. It shows respect for donors, accountability to families, and seriousness about outcomes. An Archewell source explained that this transition followed an established approach that the foundation has used before. They develop initiatives, test them, refine them, and then pass them on to independent organizations capable of sustaining them long-term. This is the same model used for Invictus and Travelist. Critics conveniently ignore that history. Invictus began as a vision rooted deeply in Prince Harry's own experience with service members and veterans. Today, it is a global movement with its own governance, funding streams, and leadership. Yet, Harry remains closely involved as patron and advocate. Travelist followed a similar path, moving from concept to independent organisation while continuing to benefit from Harry's public engagement. The difference with ParentsTogether is not abandonment, it is alignment. ParentsTogether has built trusted relationships with families over many years. They already have deep expertise in organising parents, shaping policy conversations, and providing resources at scale. For the Parents Network to thrive long-term, it needed to live inside an organisation whose sole focus is family advocacy, not within a broader foundation juggling multiple global causes. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. The fact that ParentsTogether's website does not prominently feature the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is not evidence of erasure or distancing. It is evidence that the work is no longer about them. And frankly, that is exactly how ethical philanthropy should function. Harry and Meghan have never insisted on constant credit. In fact, they have often been criticised precisely because they step back and allow the work to speak for itself. They understand that families who have lost children to online harm do not need celebrity branding. They need stability, trust, and resources. This transition is also happening alongside a major restructuring within Archerwell itself. The foundation has rebranded as Archerwell Philanthropies and adopted a new operational model. Rather than running programs directly, Archerwell now functions as a fiscal sponsor, funding and supporting other charitable organisations that are already embedded in their communities. This represents a fundamental shift in how Harry and Meghan channel their philanthropic efforts. It is less about building permanent internal structures and more about strengthening existing ecosystems. It is a move away from control and toward collaboration. That shift has understandably come with personnel changes. James Holt, who served as co-executive director alongside Shauna Knepp, has announced his departure. Organisational evolution always brings transitions, and anyone who has worked in non-profit leadership knows this is neither unusual nor alarming. It is part of growth. What matters is that the mission remains intact. The transfer of the Parents Network was first signalled through a strategic partnership announcement in October. At the time, some observers may not have fully grasped the extent of what that partnership meant. Now it is clear that this was not a superficial collaboration. It was a carefully planned handover. When that October partnership was revealed, James Holt and Shauna Knepp issued a joint statement reminding the public that when the Parents Network began, they were among the few voices calling attention to the devastating impact of social media and emerging technologies on young people. That statement is crucial because it highlights how early Harry and Meghan were to this conversation. Before congressional hearings became routine, before whistleblowers gained mainstream attention, before algorithm-driven harm became dinner-table conversation. They were already listening to grieving parents. When the Parents Network launched in 2024, Prince Harry sat down with CBS News and spoke with painful clarity about what he had learned. He said that at this point almost every parent needs to be a first responder. He acknowledged that even the best-trained professionals struggle to recognize the signs of possible suicide, especially when harm is unfolding silently through screens and private messages. That was not fear-mongering. That was lived reality reflected back to the public. Harry has repeatedly emphasized that parents are being asked to navigate systems designed to be addictive, opaque, and profit-driven, often without adequate information or support. His willingness to speak openly about this, especially given his own experiences with loss and trauma, adds depth to the advocacy. And this focus has not faded in 2026. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex made their first public appearance of the year last Wednesday, meeting with authors Jonathan Haidt and Catherine Price. Both are deeply respected voices in the conversation around technology, childhood development, and mental health. Their work in The Amazing Generation examines how digital environments are shaping young minds, often in ways parents never consented to. Harry praised their insights, telling them that their work has been incredibly valuable over the years for supporting parents who have lost their children to online harms. That comment alone underscores how deeply engaged he remains with this issue, even as programs transition to new organizational homes. This is what long-term commitment looks like. It is not about clinging to ownership, it is about ensuring impact. Of course, there are those who will twist this story. There always are. Some will claim that Harry and Meghan are pulling back. Others will suggest that the lack of their names on a website indicates controversy or conflict, but those narratives collapse under even minimal scrutiny. The reality is far more straightforward and far more admirable. Harry and Meghan built something needed. They resourced it properly. They listened to experts and families. They ensured financial continuity. And then they placed it in the hands of an organisation best equipped to carry it forward. That is leadership. It is also consistent with everything they have said about their values. They have spoken often about empowering communities rather than centering themselves. They have emphasized collaboration over hierarchy. They have challenged outdated models of philanthropy that prioritize control and optics over outcomes. This moment also reflects a broader truth about how the Sussexes operate. They are not interested in endless micromanagement. They are interested in systems change. That requires humility, trust, and the willingness to step aside when others can lead more effectively. The Parents Network now has a permanent home with ParentsTogether. Families will continue to receive support. Conversations about digital safety will continue to grow. Advocacy will continue to push for accountability from tech companies and lawmakers alike. And Harry and Meghan will continue doing what they have always done, using their platform to amplify, convene and fund work that matters, without demanding ownership or applause. In a media landscape obsessed with drama and personal narratives, this kind of story can be uncomfortable. It does not fit neatly into outrage cycles. It does not offer villains or scandal. It simply shows responsible stewardship. For anyone genuinely concerned about the well-being of children and families, this is a win. For anyone invested in understanding how modern philanthropy evolves, this is a case study worth paying attention to. And for those who still insist on misunderstanding Harry and Meghan at every turn, this moment says more about the critics than it ever will about the couple. Because real impact does not always come with a spotlight. Sometimes it comes with a quiet handover, a funded future, and families who know they are not alone.